What's up, everybody? It's Bill from High Volume Games, and we are back. The channel is finally back. It's been about 300 days. Unfortunately, my computer died while we were at our height, and unfortunately, I had to wait for a long time before we could get this channel back up and going, but here we are. And a lot's happened. But mainly I wanted to start us off with the Road to 2023 Dopey Challenge recap, I guess, because it's over. So I started the Road to 2023 Dopey Challenge, and I did a few videos where we kind of talked about training, and we did a few race reviews, but unfortunately that's when everything just kind of died. So since then, we've done a bunch of races between what was it, March and January, and we ended up going on the trip. So let's kind of go through the Dopey trip. So what ended up happening is, we'll start from the beginning. So basically, we'll go back to where, 2021 I was sick. We'll just leave it at I was sick for about 3 months. I, had a lot of trouble just getting out of bed. I would go to work, but I would be sitting down a lot, and then I would come home and instantly go right to bed. So what ended up happening was, once I started feeling better, I started taking laps around Morton Hospital's parking lot, which is something I do, and I would, I was thinking, man, I should do something. I need a big goal. I need something to get myself going. And so I ended up deciding to do Dopey. I'd done the Fairy Tale Challenge 2020, so it only made sense to go for Dopey next. I could have done Goofy, but let's just go for Dopey. And so what ended up, I decided, at that point, let's go with Dopey 2023 rather than 2022, because I just felt, give me a year to train. And so that's what we did. So for the last year, since December of 2021 till January of this year, 2023, I trained. I ran a bunch of races, did a couple of 5Ks, did a couple of 10Ks, did two half marathons. Tried to stick with Galloway as much as I could. There was a month in August where I worked almost every day, so I didn't train much. And there was a December, I got a viral infection, which caused an asthma attack that kept on going for a while. So I would get an asthma attack every night, basically. So I didn't train 100% what I should have, but I felt decent. I felt like, we were going to be okay for Dopey. I was a little nervous only because when in 2017, when I did the marathon, from the starting gate to the Balloon Ladies was about an hour and 30 minutes. And I noticed in 2022 that had shrunk to about 45 minutes. So I was worried, because if that was the case in 2017, I would have been swept. So I figured 2023, I have to PR in marathon with having to do a 5K, 10K, and a half marathon before that. So it was going to be a very interesting weekend. So the plan was for my mom and I to go down to Florida. We were going to take the train down, because we used to take the train down all the time. If you see me take a drink, sorry, I don't have editing capabilities, or so I may do that between the beginning. But so my mom and I were going to take the train down, because that's what we used to do. I'm not a very great flyer. I can get through a flight. I don't like it, but so the train was a great idea. We're going to ease into this trip. Plus, it just reminded us of the old days. And we're going to stay at Port Orleans. Another one, Port Orleans Riverside's my favorite place in the world. And it again reminds me of those, early trips. So we're going to, as my computer screen goes wacko. All right. So we took the train down. We headed off on January 3rd. It was the Tuesday. We took the train down. It was fun. I mean, trains are very relaxed, so there's not a whole lot going on. You basically you're sitting in your seat. Now, there's a thing that they like to do called bid up, where you can pay a little more, like 2 days before, but you can get that better seat, that available bedroom. You won't have to pay full price, but you'll have to pay something extra. So I put a bid in for the sleeper car for the second train, and then business class for the first train. And we didn't get the sleeper car for the second train. We were still in the roomette, which a roomette is essentially like, it's a 6x6, 6 foot 6 inch by 3 foot 6 inch room. So it's basically like your dining room table. We kind of talked about it. So we were still in the roomette, but we did get business class seats on the way down to DC. Mom and I like to do Boston or Providence in this case, to DC, and then DC because you get a nice layover in the middle. So the first train was totally fine. No issues whatsoever. We kind of just hung out. I went to the club car a few times to just get some snacks and stuff like that. You got free drinks during the first train, so it was definitely worth it. Or not, I don't know, I paid more than the free drinks cost, but it was still nice. We had really comfortable seats. We got those free drinks. It was fun. We had seats to the left, so we got, depending on how your view is, or depending on which seat you are, your view is. So we got to see the coast, in the New England coast, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We saw Philadelphia. We saw Baltimore. We didn't see New York City because New York City was on the right side, but my mom had said too that, with the fog that was happening, there was a big storm just before or just after New York City, and the fog that was in New York City at the time would have made the skyscrapers really not visible. So we got onto the second train. First we went to Union Station in DC, ate at Pizzeria Uno. I call it that because that's what it used to be. And we had our typical, we always stop there. It used to be for desserts. It's, become more of a dinner place for us now. But we had I ended up with pasta. I figured I didn't want a heavy, usually I love individual cheese and tomatoes, but I didn't want a heavy meal. So we went with that. We got on the train. We went to the first class lounge because anyone who is either a first class Excella or has a sleeper car or pays for the day, they can get onto go into the lounge. So we sat there and basically kind of just chilled out for a bunch of hours. If we didn't have as much luggage as we probably would have walked to the National Mall, but we just went to the lounge, and the lounge has free snacks and free drinks, and you just they give you a little head start to the train once it's your time. So it was nice. It was funny. We saw a couple of United States senators on their way back to New England, or to Delaware and New Jersey. So that was interesting to see, senators taking the train, but they're taking Excella first class, so it's a little different. But about 8 o'clock, we got our train, and it was cool the way our train roomette was set up. We were I guess would be the right side of the train, if you were pointed towards the front. I was sitting the opposite way, so everything is left to me. But from that window, you could, as we took off and we got out of the tunnel, you could see, Washington, D.C. perfectly. And it was nighttime, so it was really beautiful to see the Capitol, the Washington Monument, the Jefferson Memorial. We saw our old hotel that we stayed at for 2019, so that was pretty awesome. And actually, it was being the aviation geek that I am. We saw our plane, on final for Reagan Airport, literally just fly right above us. I mean, I don't know how many 100 feet it was above us, but it was not much. So that was pretty awesome. And so we went into the calf cart for dinner. They give you your option. Did you want to eat your meal at the, in your room, or do you want to eat your meal at the calf car? We chose to take the latest dinner, and we chose the calf car, and that was beautiful in there. The calf car was like, I remember the calf car looked like a cafeteria. This was very nicely made up, and you went in there, you told them what room you were. They already knew what you would ordered, so they just they already had it put together. They just needed to put it in their little heater, and a minute later your food was out. And so I had like the big ziti with meatballs, with a roll, and a snack brownie at the end. And oh man, it was good. It was like a fancy lean cuisine. It was very good. I cleaned my plate, destroyed those rolls. So that was a nice thing. So then we went to the room, went to sleep, or tried to. I did not sleep well. The beds are but half twin size, and the train is always moving, so I really didn't have much sleep. That was the theme for pretty much the entire week, till Marathon Monday, like the day after. I never got more than 3 hours sleep. So we woke up, went back to the breakfast cart, had buttermilk pancakes again. You would think train food isn't going to be that great. I ended up enjoying that. Even had some sort of sausage. It was not real, but it was one of those imitation ones. But I enjoyed it. And then we just kind of relaxed until we got to Kissimmee. I was tracking us the whole time, because we only had about 6 hours between when we got to Kissimmee and to when the expo closed. So I kept watching, making sure we were okay. But we were. The train really was probably about 10 minutes late for a 1,000-mile journey. I'll take it. I've been there where it's been 2 hours. So there was all these fail safes. We thought about, we'd Uber to the expo first if we had to, or there was even one that would say that we would leave Union Station in D.C. and go to Reagan and get on a plane to go if it really came down to it. But everything went smoothly. It was a really nice train. We got an Uber really fast. Uber down in Orlando was amazing because we either got one right away or it was cheap as anything. I was over tipping because, let's be honest, $20. He was like, they're charging me $20 for Kissimmee train station to Port Orleans, and with all those red lights and all that. I felt like he did a lot of work for that, so I definitely was over tipping them. But we got to the Port Orleans, got to our room. We couldn't get in right away, but we were hungry anyway, so we had lunch, and we got to our room, and the room was in like 37, the building, which is like way in the back. The bad thing is it's like just under half a mile to get back to the food court every meal. But the good thing for us was it was right next to a bus lobby, so all we had to do was go down the stairs, walk over, and we were there. And that 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, that was wonderful. So we went to the expo. I don't have much to say about the expo just because some of these will be short because I don't have much to say about the expo because I wasn't gonna. We knew, first of all, we're not real big merch people, and we are. I mean, everybody had been trying to get into the virtual queue since like 8 o'clock, and we just got to the We just got to Kissimmee at 2, so so we weren't worried about that. The cool thing was, I know there was long lines for even bib pickup early on, but by the time we got there, I think by the time we got there, most people got all their bibs and were waiting around for the virtual queue. And so in our case, we got in. They told us to go to the left for Dopey. I walked in. Nobody was at my booth, so I grabbed my bib, went over, grabbed my shirt. We were done in 5 minutes, and so we went to the expo to the other building, the one that has like the third parties, because I was actually looking for the sheddable, like disposable rain jacket that I saw on Facebook, the $10 one, but we couldn't find it, so we ended up just leaving. Probably took about less than half an hour at the expo, and then we went back, got some dinner, and went to bed. And 2 o'clock, the alarm goes off. So this is 5K day. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, no editing. Okay. I should do that between each race. So it's 5K day. We woke up at 2 o'clock. No, we didn't really have to do anything for that day. The original plan for the 5K day was I was going to walk the entire thing. I was going to dress up as young Carl from Up, and I was going to meet a character, and I was going to meet the Slackers. So not all that happened, but basically what happened was they were talking about threats of rain and thunder, and so I didn't feel like I wanted to wear my costume during the rain and thunder if there was going to be 3 other days that were really nice. So it ended up being that the rain never came, or it came after we left. But so we got up, we just got our, we didn't even have to do much because I didn't need to soak. I hadn't done a race yet, so didn't need to soak. We had really already gotten washed up the day before, the night before, because we got in late. So it really was quick and easy for us to get in and get out. And so we went to the bus lobby, got an instant bus, and so we said, basically, my mom had wanted to come for the 5K because she knew it was short. She knew basically by the time I started, people would be finishing. So we ended up going to the race. I kind of showed her where the start was, where the finish was, so she had an idea of how to get from, once I passed at the start, how to get back to the finish. And then kind of just people watched for a bit. It was cool to see so many costumes, a lot of Chip and Dale, a lot of Mighty Ducks. It was good. Although it was funny because I was looking like my hat and goggles for Chip, or my hat and goggles for Carl, were used by a lot of people for Chip. So it was like, oh, well, I could always do that next time. No. But, so it was fun. I did see the Slackers, and for those of you who don't know, Slackers are a group from the Jar Ox and Spoon channel. They're very wonderful people. Their videos are more about going to races and having fun and enjoying yourself. And I really latched on to that channel for motivation. And so I didn't meet them on the 5K. I saw them and I thought it was cool. I saw, I could see them from a distance. The problem is, those of you who know me, if I'm meeting you for the first time, or I'm not comfortable with people, I'm shy, quiet, not very aggressive. When I know you and I'm comfortable with you, I don't shut the hell up. But so I saw them, but it's hard for me to go up to someone. So I didn't end up going to. I actually was next to them at one point, but they were, I know they were filming and they were in a circle, and it would have taken a lot for me to go in there and be like, hi, I'm Bill, so that didn't happen on day one. So on day one, I just kind of I went to my corral, which is B. And what was funny is I was probably like, because I went early, and I was pretty far up ahead. But I went to the right because I wanted to be, in a spot where I could wave to my mom when I came across the line. But I really didn't realize that. Okay, a lot of people want to be on the right because they want to talk to Riley and and all the announcers and stuff like that. So I kept getting kind of shoved. Well, not shoved, but I kept getting kind of like the right wasn't going and everyone else was going on the left. So I somehow went from being in the front of B to the back of B. Like literal last person. But the 5K itself, it was kind of just a walk in the park. Literal. I walked. There wasn't much going on. The lines for characters were so long that I wasn't even going to make an attempt for that. So I walked pretty much from the start through the back road into Epcot by Test Track and through Mexico. And it wasn't until we got to the U.S. Pavilion that I was like kind of getting bored a bit. Not because of the race, but it's like you see all these people running and you're just walking. You kind of, when you can. And that was also the question, can I? Because I had been sick for those few weeks right before the race. So I didn't know if I could actually run yet. So basically once the photo passes started, I started running. Just to see. So I'd run a tenth of a mile, 2/10 of a mile here, and then I'd stop, and then, so I did that at America. Got to International Gateway, ran down the hill, ran again when we made that turn back into Future World, looking at Spaceship Earth. I ran through there because there was 2 photo passes there, and then I kind of made a sprint at the end, just to see if I could do it. And so I finished that one with like a 16:02 pace, which was, hey, I'm like, wow, considering I walked, all but 7 minutes of that, I'm happy with that. And I didn't really, use much energy. So Mom and I went back, met up. That was the day we couldn't, that was such a weird finish, because first of all, this was the first time Mom and I had to meet at a race in a bit, so from Disney, so we couldn't connect, but we finally figured it out, and then after that every other day was easy. And then also that was the day, and I saw it on the Jocks and Spoon channel, the buses had such a line, and it's it was because the buses were waiting on the same road you were going for the 5K, so they had to wait until everybody from the 5K had been done, or had gotten through there, so they didn't get started for very, right away, and so by the time I got there, the lines were still there, so it took like 4 buses, but after that we relaxed, got some breakfast, and just kind of hung out. We watched a lot of Food Network on that week. So there comes the 10K. I'll take another. And this is just sparkling water, people. Okay, so the 10K came up, and so I had actually messaged Jared after the 5K, and yeah, we said we just missed each other pretty much. I was standing a little ways from you. So 10K, basically the same situation. I didn't really need to soak or anything, so we got out pretty early. Then we got there, and actually I saw Jared and Lindsay walk that way first, and I didn't. Again, it's tough for me to go up to someone. But then the next time they passed, Jared was literally right by my arm's length away, so I was able to tap on his shoulder, and introduced myself. He knew who I was at that point. We had been talking. Jared, Lindsay, and I had been messaging throughout the year, so we finally all met up, and then we had talked, and I said I was gonna run with them on the 10K. The plan was actually to run with them the 10K and the half, and then because I know their strategy is very similar to mine. So I kind of said that would be a good, they've done this before. I kind of think I know how to do it. So I was like, let me just hang with them. So they had some really cool costumes that Meredith made for Marewares. They were just cool. These like Dopey jumpsuits or Snow White and Seven Dwarf jumpsuits, like the basketball suits. They were awesome. But yeah, I started meeting everybody, and then we ended up going to the corral. Mom went over to the start line again, and we started in D corral. So I was B, but I went back to D. Let's be honest, I shouldn't have been in B anyway. So I got to, I ended up, as we were walking, I met Bill Stewart, who I had, I knew him from the videos, and he actually liked one of my posts from Facebook group, and I was like, oh, it's the legendary Bill Stewart from the videos, and what a nice guy he is. I'm sure I'll talk more about him. He's such a nice guy. But we chatted the whole way to the corral, and I ended up spending a little bit of time talking to Justin in the corral. And so we started weaving our way, and the same thing basically happened. This time, though, we weren't even trying to be on the right at first, but somehow the slackers, this is what I think happened, and someone can confer this with me, but like we were in the front, we were on the left, and it seemed like everybody kind of got pinched, and then it seemed like when the D corral was going out, and then it seemed like someone moved the fence, and everybody to the right of us got around us. But somehow we ended up in the back again. And this time, you have balloon ladies. You can be swept in the 10K. And now we are starting within, seconds of instead of, we were trying to be minutes ahead of them. And so my mom had a great video of us when we took off. We were the last wave in the last corral. And my mom has this wonderful video of us. You see the corral start, and then about 30 seconds later, Jez and Linz and Jared, they wave to her, and then you'll see everybody else, MK, Justin, Bill Stewart, and then 10 seconds later, because I got pushed out of the way by some random people, but I'm second or third to last. And then about 15 seconds later, you see the balloon ladies take off. And it's a fun video. But basically, they had told me, okay, Linz is going to take off, and she's going to stop, and everybody's just going to follow. And I was totally fine with that. My plan originally was to run 3 miles, and then, walk 3 miles, and then walk. So, I felt like, okay, I'll go with them. And honestly, let's be honest, it was way more comfortable running with them than it would have been running by myself. It was such a nice pace, and again, it was just fun being around people that you knew, and I was chatting with them along the way, and it was just so fun, and I liked that course. It was kind of a backwards 10K, because usually you would have gone back up the same way you would have done the 5K and go, we'll say clockwise around World Showcase and then into the boardwalk, and but in this case that you went in through your half marathon entrance of Epcot and then go counterclockwise the rest of the way. So it was just a different it wasn't much of a difference, but it was a difference that made it fun. And again, just having some really good people around you. I got to run pretty much side by side with almost everybody during that part. So, it was a good time. That was easily the most fun I've ever had at any race. So we got through that one. And I think at one point we were about 8-9 minutes ahead of the balloon ladies. We kind of, once we knew we were good, we slowed down after the 5K mark. and so we were about 5 minutes from the balloon ladies, but it was still such a good time, just hanging out, chatting with them, running, but not, burning ourselves out. So after that, met with my mom, did our thing. This time we got on the bus instantly. That was awesome. Compared to the day before, where, like I said, it took 4 buses. Excuse me. Okay, so then again, we went home. We went back to the hotel, had our breakfast, hung out. That one was it was one of those things where we kept waiting for we knew housekeeping was coming, but we didn't want to take the nap. But then they never came until like 3. So there's more part of I didn't sleep for more than 3 hours throughout the trip. But then so we get to that brings us to half marathon day. So drink. Okay, so half marathon day. This was the one I kind of, at first, was kind of like, not regretting. I was fearful of, because, okay, how I finish this race is going to be how I start marathon. So if I'm sore after this race, I'm going to be sore at the beginning of marathon. So I was worried about this. Plus, this is the same course that we've always had. So I was, am I going to be bored with this? What's going to happen? There was a very little changes in this one. Mainly just by the entrance of Magic Kingdom. But it wasn't much different. So I was not sure how this was gonna be. The plan was to run walk 6 mile. Again, it was actually the original plan was to run with Jared and Lindsay, but the plan was to do about 6 miles and then walk, unless they did something different. So what happens is I guess, well, 100% this is me, but I guess I missed out on the fact that the buses start at 2:30 on half marathon day, because I was again out there at 2:50, caught the first bus instantly. So I didn't show up till about 30 minutes after everyone else did. So by the time I got there, Jared, Lindsay, Jez, they had all left. They had gotten into the line for the corral. And when I got there, there was MK, Bill Stewart, Kunkel, and Mare were taking pictures. So I kind of latched on to Bill Stewart like I did. I ran with Bill Stewart basically most of the 10K. He was always making sure I was still behind him. So I basically latched on to him. I was like, okay, I know Bill. Bill's in the same corral as me for the half marathon. I was like, I don't know if he was dropping back. So I was like, well, no, he wasn't, but I knew he was going to be. So I basically, came with him, and then he was running with MK, so I was like, okay, cool. I hadn't really talked to MK at that point yet, so I was like, oh, cool. Well, I'll at least hang in the corral with them. I've watched enough videos to know between Bill Stewart and MK, I'm not going to outrun them, or not outrun them. I'm not going to hang with them because they run faster than me. Although it seemed like we had different intervals, so we kept running into each other later on, which was awesome. But we ended up getting into the corrals. We were in D Corral. D Corral was, I will say this about D Corral in the half marathon, it was very lighthearted. Like, everybody was talking, it was just a nice time. It wasn't as much the case in the marathon, but in the half marathon, everyone was kind of still enjoying themselves, and so they were talking in D Corral. D Corral was ridiculous because of the fact that I couldn't even see the start line, but it was funny. But yeah, I ended up being right with Bill and MK at the start line, and so I said, I'm just gonna run with them until I can't. If I have to slow down or whatever, or just stop in general, I'll just run my pace. And so we started running, and yeah, they're faster than me. But I hung around till the first water stop, and then that's when I usually lose someone in any race. I tend to lose them at the water stop, and so I got separated from them at the water stop. So I just started doing my thing. I ran the first 2 miles, because when you start off in this like 5-lane road, but then you get into this one tiny off ramp, and it's a downhill off ramp, and I tend to run that because I want to run the whole thing, because at that point, once you get out, it's so crowded, and you still have a lot of people walking in 3s and 4s, so it's a sketchy little road, and it's dark. But once you get past it, you go back to another 5-lane road, and you've got that 5-lane road for over a mile. So it's like, okay, let's just run it. And so I just found somebody who was really, running my pace and kept with them. Excuse me. So I started running my pace once we got into that open area going towards the Magic Kingdom sign, and did my thing for a while. I saw at TTC, I saw the man that was in the corral with us, who MK and Bill Stewart knew from Facebook group. I had seen him, so I was like, oh well, that's cool. I'm still with people from my corral, so that's nice. It's like I'm not doing awful. And then I got the biggest surprise when you go down the hill at Contemporary, and then you go up the hill. I came around, we went into the turn going into Magic Kingdom, and there's Bill Stewart and MK. The great thing about Bill Stewart, besides being a beacon, I call him, I think he's a beacon in many sense of the words, because he's, a beacon of light. He's just so positive and makes you, happy. But he was also, a beacon as far as I could see him from a long distance away, because he is a tall man, and he, his costumes were wonderful. So, like, in this case, he was dressed, MK was dressed as a Dalmatian, and he was dressed as the guy, forgive me, but yeah, he was dressed as the guy with the net who was trying to catch the Dalmatian. But you could see a really tall man dressed very, very nicely running down, a Disney street. You knew that was Bill Stewart. So it was the same thing with the marathon. I'll get to that one. But so I was so happy to see them. Not just because the fact that I caught up to them, but just to see a friendly face. So it was funny. Stupid me decides, okay, I've caught these guys. I'm just going to keep going because, So I go, okay, guys, see ya. And I take off. And then my 30 seconds is done. And I stop, or I slow down. And next thing I know, I see the two of them running past me. And I was like, oh, so let's just follow them. Well, we're going to go to Magic Kingdom. I'm going to stick with them for Magic Kingdom. And so that was fun. Just to go through Magic Kingdom with MK and Bill Stewart was a lot of fun. I lost them again at Frontierland, but we had gone through the castle together and stuff like that. So, I separated with them again, but then when we got to after you go through the backstage area, you go across the weird bridge, heading towards, I think it was called Sisters Run the World. I just watched their video of this, and they called it Cone Alley, I think it was, where all the parking cones are. But I had found them again there. I think we had a weird interval where I'm doing like 30-45, and I don't know what they were doing, but I think that when they ran longer, but when they walked longer. So I was able to catch when they were walking. But then we got to Cone Alley, and towards the end of it, this one little lane road is the sketchiest road you've ever seen. So many people running, walking, doing all this, but we have no real estate whatsoever. So at the end of it, they took off, and I was just like, I don't think I have it in me to catch them a third time. And also, I had told myself I was going to walk 6 miles, and we're at 6.5 at this point. So at that point, I just said, okay, I'm just going to walk. Actually, what I did was I basically got myself on the breakdown lane line, and I just walked that the entire length of the course. So, and at this point, the sun is coming up. So and you have that really long road going out from Magic Kingdom. It's a long straight road. Well, the road is straight. The road is also crooked, which wreaks havoc with like my feet and stuff. But it was good. I was running. My walks were like 16, 17 minutes. I was actually hoping to fall back to catch the E corral, to catch Jared and Lindsay, but I wasn't going slow enough. I was still doing 16-minute paces, even though I was walking. So I wasn't falling back. I was just kind of treading. So by the time we got to that overpass at 10, there's a long overpass that you have to go up. I could see, by the time we got to the top, you could see the road was full of people, so there was no danger of anything like that. So I just kept on walking, and it was funny. I got down to there's like 3 little hills. There's that overpass, then there's another hill, then there's the off. What? I'm sorry. Oh, it's an off ramp. Then there's a little hill. Then there's the overpass into Epcot, and the overpass into Epcot. As you go down it, I saw Mushu sitting there, and I was like, oh, I haven't gotten a character yet, and there's like 4 people in line. Maybe I should get my first character ever. But I was just, at this point, it's like 11.5 miles, and I was just done. So it just didn't happen. So I walked in just like the same way we did before, going through, down over to Mission Space, and it was just a nice time. But the thing that was funny is when I get to the line, I'm like, I'm running like, a lot of the times with Disney half marathons, I'm a lot slower than regular half marathons, but I'm like usually in the 320, the high 320s, low 330s, and this one, even with walking those last 6 miles, I ended up with like a 321 for my finish. So I PR'd in Disney, my Disney PR for the half marathon, which made me a little nervous though, because I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be conserving. How did I just run a PR? But I figured at that point we're gonna have to. We'll see in the morning how I feel. So we got back on the bus. Actually, I got on the bus this time. My mom didn't come with me. The cold from that for 10K had really hit. Plus, there was sketchy directions as far as spectators on how they could see and this and that, and I didn't want my mom just kind of going all over the place, so she ended up staying. So I ended up taking the bus back, Instabus again, and then meeting her for breakfast. So then we kind of hung out. My brother was coming, my sister-in-law, my niece and my nephew were coming. I haven't seen them since Princess Half Marathon 2020, so it was great. They came by. They ended up spending the night. We ended up going. This was the only reason I'm going to mention this. Is moral victory. So when it was like lunchtime, we ended up going back to the food court, and I walked with them because previous half marathons at Run Disney, I've ended up having to have somebody bring me lunch back because I can't move. So here's the case: I'm walking like normal. I'm a little sore, but I'm not out of it. So that was a victory right there. And that's going to lead into the marathon, and I have plenty to say about the marathon. I know this is running long, but So the marathon comes up, and this time I'm on time. So I met everybody at the corral, or I met everybody at the staging area. Talked with Justin for a bit. Talked with Jared for a bit. We ended up all going to the line together, or ended up going to the crowds together. So it was going to be. Let's go. We stood there for a bit, and I ended up getting paired with Jez for the, just walking to the corral, which was nice because she was basically the one person I hadn't really gotten to talk to for a bit. So we talked, and that was fun because again, these are all really nice people. If you ever see the slackers, don't be like me and be shy. Go talk to them because they are just wonderful people. Lindsay's just truly the nicest person ever. Like I said, Bill Stewart's a prince. Jared is wonderful. Justin is great. Jez is great. MK is wonderful. Literally, these are the nicest people. So once we got to the corral, everybody kind of split. It was Lenz, Jez, MK, me, and Bill Stewart in D corral. I almost missed the start. I said in my blogs, and I've said I think on this before I had to shut down, I get nervous stomach and I get sick before a race a lot, and I decided to get sick 20 minutes before the race started, which when you have a giant, when you need to get sick and there's a bunch of people in a line waiting for the porta potty, you are not comfortable. So yeah, by the time I got back, because we were all at the front of D corral, but once I got back into the corral, to hop over people to the front, I'm sure people were annoyed by me, but I'm sorry, especially because I'm not very aggressive, so I just kind of stand around people, I kind of just stand there could you let me by? And yeah, no, they're not going to let me by. Mm-hmm. So that was my auspicious start. I didn't almost make it. And then it was funny because I'm looking at the C corral balloon. I'm only 2 rows away from the start, the fence, and I can't see these guys, but they were right to the right of me. But I ended up getting back with them. Actually, it was Bill Stewart who got kind of pinched off at the end. He was a few people behind me by the time we got started. And again, I figured the plan was to kind of stay with. It was kind of stay with the group, or to stay with Linz. Lindsay was probably the person I was going to try to stick with. But once we took off, they said, "Go, 3, 2, 1, go." Let's be honest, there was a lot of people who wanted the real estate behind the girls more than me, because I got shoved by the man, the tall man next to me. Then a few more people got into that position, and by the first 100 yards, I have already lost everybody. I saw Bill Stewart get into the back of a pace group, probably about a quarter of a mile in, but I wasn't going to. I don't know about the pace groups. I know I couldn't keep up with the 5-hour pace group, so I wasn't even going to try that. So I just kind of did my own thing. I just ran. I was going to run until I got tired, then do my intervals. I found a older gentleman who was running a comfortable pace, but I think he was doing something 3 minutes on, 1 minute off, something like that. 2 minutes on, 1 minute off. He was doing something much more than I'd ever done, but he was running slower, so I was able to keep up, and I was like, okay. The only problem was he was so much taller than me that every time we got to the walk section, he would ghost me by about 100 feet because he was just the longer legs. So it was funny, but I was getting through fine, and then I realized I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, I just missed the I almost missed the race, because the start of the race, because of that, but now I have to go to the bathroom. And I've never done that on a race, but the good thing about this course now, I have been prior to this race complaining about that 4 mile loop, because I'm from the 2017 class of the marathon, so we just went to Magic Kingdom, or we went to Magic Kingdom. So this 4 mile loop in the middle was, wow, what the heck is this? But boy, did that help me, because I knew, again, we're looping back to the start, that where the 1,000 porta potties are. So I was able to take like a 3 minute, I think it took 3 minutes because there wasn't a little line, but I took like 3 minutes, used the bathroom, and then got back out. So I'm having this awful start, but my times are going well. And then I realized when we were going for the next like 4, 5, 6 mile, boy, I must have been flying, because I'm, for as much as I'm not enjoying myself at this moment, my times were really good. Like it was 12-minute, 13-minute, so I'm pulling away. And so then we get to TTC, and actually this is where I see, again, TTC, same spot. I saw that same guy from the Corrallon half marathon. I was like, oh, hey, again, this is good. I'm seeing people I recognize. And speaking of recognize, right at TTC, I see Sisters Run the World. Again, just because I'm shy, and also because Katie and Melissa were like filming the band that that does the drums at TTC, and somebody had just come over to talk to Kimmy. I didn't want to bug any of you, so I just went by, but it was really nice to see people who had watched their videos this year and see them, and I thought that was awesome. And so I went through Magic Kingdom. I will say this, I loved that new little stretch where it was such a weird stretch, but it was so nice, where there's the bathrooms at Diamond Horseshoe, and we went through that little building, or that whatever you want to call it, covering, and that brought us into Adventureland, and we've never run through Adventureland. And then it came out, and we went on that wooden bridge and went up to Big Thunder Mountain, which we've never really done. I think we might have once, but I don't remember what year. And then went out. It was so nice, but this is when I had more issues. Okay, so people yelling. We go out to the backstage area, and they have the big water and Powerade station there. And for some reason, that happened. I'm drinking a Powerade, and in the middle of drinking the Powerade, I cough, and the whole Powerade just goes over like my face and my head, and I've now got Powerade on my glasses. Yeah, I'm awesome. So I'm not thrilled right now. I'm just like. So that happened. Then I decided, I had forgotten to take anything before. So I decided, okay, at this point, I'm going to stop at the medical tent. The lady was literally passing out Tylenols like they were candy. So I jumped in that line. So I lost a little bit of time there. But I was like, okay. I mean, at this point, the worst has got to be over. I've had the bathroom break. I've had the coughing, flying Powerade. I've had the medical stop. I think I'm good. I think I'm just going to go the rest of this race and have fun. And the first thing I did was a little down that road, Daisy Duck was there. I was like 4 people in line, and I had been counting my time since I got there. And again, I had been flying for some reason. Don't ask me why. But so Daisy Duck was there. I'm like, I'm going to get a picture. 10 years of running, I've never gotten a picture with a character. So I decided to do it. And I got my picture. Daisy was very nice. And then, so I headed down that road again. We were going into the, what is it? It's not Bear Swamp Alley. I forget what it is. It's the chemical, the water treatment plant street, but it's a service road. But the biggest thing. Now I was happy because this was halfway, and I looked at the time, and I had done a 3:13. I'd just done 3:21 yesterday, and now I'm doing a 3:13. So I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And who comes up, or who do I come up to right away? But again, that beacon, my beacon, I had, Bill Stewart. He's in this case he had a Stitch hat and like a Hawaiian shirt on, so you could see him from a distance. But here I am. It's Bill Stewart with MK and Jez, and they were over there, and so it was like, oh, I'm so happy to see you guys. And again, I decided to take off from them because I think I don't know, because I think I've got all this momentum, but it's more because I knew that again, once they took off, they were going to lose me again. So I was like, let me get ahead. So basically, for that whole service road, we kind of leapfrogged each other, but we stopped at a bunch of characters together because Max and Goofy were there. We all stopped there, and then Mushu. I got my for not having him last on the half marathon. I finally got to get a picture. Although I feel awful, I stepped on Mushu's foot. The group is trying to remind me that it was Mushu's shoe, but I'm like, oh, I even said I'm sorry I stepped on your foot, and Mushu's patting me on the back like it's okay. So we got, again, like I said, we were kind of leapfrogging each other at 14, 15, and we got to Animal Kingdom together, but that's when, unfortunately, my legs just said, I'm done. I knew I was 40 minutes ahead at that point, or 30. People were saying 40 minutes. It's probably more like 35, but I knew I was quite a ways ahead. There's 10 miles to go. I would really have to slow down for the balloon ladies to catch me. So I kind of just started walking through Animal Kingdom, which is nice. Let's be honest. Okay, my legs are, shot, but I'm still just going to sit here and enjoy myself. Again, that first half wasn't great, so I wanted to make the second half much better, and seeing the characters was awesome. Seeing the gang there, that was awesome. So I'm just going to enjoy Animal Kingdom. I haven't been to Animal Kingdom since 2017 marathon, so I'm just gonna walk around, and I did, and I got through Animal Kingdom. And what was great was, again, I could see we got to mile 17 or so when you're just leaving Animal Kingdom, and even though I had walked the whole way, I could see that Stitch hat. I could see Bill Stewart. He's a little ahead of me. That's okay. I could see him. That made me smile. And then, so went up that street that both sides were supposed to see each other on. Unfortunately, the balloon ladies had just gone in with you, because you could actually see the van that follows them. That was going with them. But then I knew I had over a mile and a half, 2 mile advantage. So I was just going to I was literally, again, walking on the breakdown lane line. So we got out of Animal Kingdom, got around to that 2 mile road, which again was, it's not fun, but I loved the sponge bath is what I call it. Yeah, hitting yourself, getting a sponge, wiping yourself off with it. That was awesome. And then we get to the point where everybody hates, that turned out to be my most favorite part. And that was the Blizzard Beach. And I'll tell you why. Okay, so Blizzard Beach, you're basically walking in a parking lot. So in my case, I was done. I was walking at this point. There was nothing left in my legs. So we got to Blizzard Beach, and so once we hit the sign, you did the kind of like a U-turn, and then you got to where the entrance sign is, and you would go into the parking lot, do a big like rectangle around, and then go back out. So when I got to the sign for Blizzard Beach, who do I see? That beacon, Bill Stewart. I see Bill Stewart, MK, and Jez leaving. So they were a good mile ahead of me, but just to see them one more time just made me smile. I was like, okay, I'm all right, I'm happy. And so I started going up the road, and then there's the Jelly Bean stop, and I was now running opposite of the road that we had come up. And who do I see in the tree line but Jared and Lindsay? And I know Jared had some knee issues. He wasn't sure he was going to make it. Lindsay had been swept the previous two tries. I know she really wanted this, and so to see them go through, I really wanted it for her. So when I saw the two of them still going, and honestly, they had caught me. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I was safe. So I knew they were safe at this point. So I was really, really happy for them. And again, it just made me happy. And then we got our Powerade, where the lady called it a frozen margarita. I love her. And then came back out, and I see a wrestler that I knew, one of the wrestler from Impact Wrestling, who I know does run Disney. I saw her running, so kudos to her, because she was running. I didn't say hello, of course, because I can't say hello to anyone. But she was running one way, I was walking the other. I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then I went out, and Lexi from Passport to Run, she had gotten swept earlier. She wasn't feeling very well, and she decided, but instead of going home or doing her own thing, she just decided, you know what, I'm going to go find a place and cheer everyone on. So she went all the way from the race course to the Coronado, and got out, walked out of the Coronado parking area, and put herself right out on the course. And Passport to Run is another good channel I like, mainly because I like any channel where people just seem to enjoy themselves when they're doing stuff, and they really do. They seem like they really enjoy this. And Lexi had a video where she did the New York City Marathon, and it was a fun video going along, and then at the end she's just trying to beat the time before they shut the clock off, and she ended up doing it, and I was so happy for her, and literally to the point where like she's now emotional about it, and I'm sitting there saying, talking to my TV, like, will somebody give her a hug? So it was such a good video, and it really pumped me up for this, and so I wanted to go tell her, because I had seen her, and it was such a great video, and so I went over. I stopped for a second, went over, and just wanted to say hi. I just wanted to say I loved your video. It's great. Thank you for being out here. And she said thank you, and and rooted for me. So just in that 5-minute span from when I saw Bill Stewart, Jez and MK, to when I saw Jared and Lindsay, to when I saw Lexi, it was just really wonderful. So even though that's people's most hated parts of the course, because they're you're in a hot parking lot, it's boring, that was my favorite part of the whole thing. So once I actually and right after that I stopped for a Launchpad and Quack, which was awesome. And then so I got through. I got to the candy stop, because I had said in the Hope Be for Dopey video from Jar Oxenfoon's channel, I said I wanted to make it there because 6 years ago they had already shut down the candy stop, and all I got to see was wrappers. So this time I got to make it, got to have my candy. I was happy. Went through Hollywood Studios. Went out through I know with Coach HJ I heard call it the International Squeezeway, the little section between Hollywood Studios and Boardwalk, because there's not a lot of room for a lot of people, but it wasn't too bad in my area. Went to the Boardwalk. I have to say, Boardwalk Mile 24, I was done. I'm so out of it at this point. Again, I don't know how far ahead I am. I don't know how far, Jared and Lindsay are to me. I don't know where anyone is at this point. I'm done. But the crowd at Boardwalk was just so amazing. Like, they're looking at people's, bib and calling them by name. So you're saying, they're like, oh, way to go, William, keep going, and I will say, for the Jar and Spoon channel, my PR and Fun shirt got a lot of love on that in that Boardwalk, and so we got through that part. But if that was a huge help, just to I'm trying to thank people, but I'm again I'm hurting at this point. I'm done, and we get to what a weird thing once we got out of Boardwalk and went into World Showcase. That was such a weird spot because I saw people buying, ice cream. I saw people buying margaritas. I saw people handing, just random strangers beers. It was such a funny, scene. But I was, hobbling at this point down the road, and I started getting emotional. I don't cry. I can't cry for some reason. But I had just thought about, being sick, and being in bed, and then working as much as I did this past year, to pay for the train and pay for the trip, and, all this stuff that's gone on for 2 years, the stress from work, and it was about to be done. We're 1 mile away from finishing. And so I was really starting to get emotional going into, let's say, Italy, Germany. But again, the people buying the alcohol was just making me smile, though. Because I was like, this is fun. It's you wouldn't, maybe you would have this in a marathon. But, it was just such a different feel. Again, when I did the 2017 marathon, I didn't really have much of a moment. It was just like, okay, I'm done. So this one, having the emotions that I had, I felt like I actually did this one, like, so we got through. I think I tried to run at the end. I don't know if that actually happened. I'm not sure if I actually made it, but but I was able to cross the finish line. Mom was right there with me. Mom was right in the same spot she had been for 3 others, or the 5K and the 10K. So I got to see her, got my finisher hat, the medals, went over and saw her. Still was, feeling it, like I was, and then we were done. We didn't hang around much. It was actually very tough to get to the buses because so many people laying down on the ground. But yeah, it was amazing. The whole 4 days was amazing. It was great to have my mom there. My mom was a trooper because some of those mornings were cold as hell, and she was out there. The marathon day, I got a message from her before Blizzard Beach, I'll say, saying she was waiting for the bus, and literally I don't think she had to wait for the bus, then the bus driver got into Epcot, but she couldn't get off there, so they had to find another spot to put her. I think they eventually gave up and just opened the door, but honestly, she didn't get there till probably by the time I was at Boardwalk, and so we're talking, almost 2 hours of just trying to get on the bus to come to see this race. So I can't thank her enough for, being there. Like I said, I can't thank the Slackers enough. They were just wonderful people. And again, just seeing them on the course made me smile. The only complaint I have for Bill Stewart is he hacked a lot of my pictures. Like he And there's a few of you. You're all guilty of it, you slackers. But because being in the back behind every slacker, they're gonna do the pose, the hands up, and especially Bill Stewart. Most of my pictures have my head cut off from one of you. But Bill mostly. Actually, my head is in Bill's net at one point. But no, I couldn't thank them enough. Because I probably wouldn't have. Would I have made it? I don't know. But I would not have had as much fun without them. So, again, thank you to the slackers. I can't wait to see the videos on that. Because it'll just make me smile, remembering things from them. But, and again, thank you to every volunteer that was there. There were thousands of volunteers, and everybody was just, and again, forget that they were probably earlier than us. But, and all the runners, it was just everybody who made that trip magical. I spent the next couple days afterwards going to, we stayed at the Comfort Inn in International Drive, kind of save some money, and then also go eat at places that we don't have up here in the north. So we had Perkins, we had Golden Corral, we had Denny's. Oh my goodness, I had the like cinnamon roll pancakes from Denny's. Oh. Oh, I'm drooling already thinking about those. But then we came back, and it was that day that the planes all were grounded for a bit. That was a stressful day, but the whole trip in general was just amazing. I mean, that was the only really hiccup of the whole adventure was that and that was the last couple of hours of the trip. So it's a good trip when you have that. Nothing goes wrong. We didn't do a whole lot as far as we didn't go to any parks. We didn't go to down Disney Springs or anything like that. But we still had a great time. And it made me want to do Run Disney again, because I had basically told everyone this is probably it for me for a while, because, I've done everything. But, I kind of want to go back. I've never done Wine and Dine half marathon. I've done the 10K. But also I also want to come and cheer. So if I only do one race in a weekend, go cheer the slackers, go cheer everybody. I've never done that before. So I don't think it's the last time Run Disney's going to see me. Next up for me is the Boulder 10K. I saw Jared and Lindsay do a video on that last year. It looks so fun. I've never even seen a mountain as an adult, so, I would love to go see a mountain. But it looked like a really fun race with lots of scenery, and also just looked like a fun parade type race with the neighbors, doing stuff for it. And so that's going to be the next one on my list. There's going to be a couple of local races between now and then. But again, thank you to everyone. It was the most fun I've ever had. Especially that 10K, and the Blizzard Beach. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you stayed around for this hour and 15-minute video, thank you. I hope everyone is well. Expect the channel to be back up and running. Games galore soon. I'm working on the computer games, working on the board games, working on the camera. So, we should be back very soon. But I wanted to get this out there and let you guys know how I'm feeling. So everyone, please take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye now.